as you guys know, YCS Vegas just happened this past weekend, and we are gonna kind of basically just cover, what do you call it? I mean, we're just gonna basically cover, like, I guess what exactly happened at Vegas, because there wasn't a lot of coverage. We're basically covering YCS Vegas because there wasn't a lot of coverage. It wasn't a streamed event, unfortunately, but I think there's some very notable developments in the metagame that are kind of interesting to talk about. So I figure, why not do a deep dive into YCS Vegas, what happened, and all that good stuff. So first things first, we have Jesse, Dom, and Mike Albanese basically winning YCS Vegas. For Dom, this is his third time winning a YCS, all at Vegas, which is kind of funny. A 3-time YCS Vegas champion. We have Jesse, believe it should be his 7th ring now, YCS ring at least. And then we have Mike Albanese getting his first YCS ring. Huge congratulations to his Team Legionnaire. Mike's a New Jersey duelist, so huge respect to the Jersey heads, I guess. But yeah, and they all played, I guess, 2 pure Ryzel and a Ryzel Fiendsmith variant, right? So I just want to take a look at Dom's deck and what they played really quickly. So the biggest thing I noticed about this list is 3 cross out 3 talents in the main and Callby in the main. Guys, this is like a very annoying development because it basically makes this so the hand traps are a lot less impactful. Right? Because if you have 3 cross out and 3 talents, and you're going first, you're pretty much should be winning going first pretty consistently. And yeah, I think that's why they did really well. I think that one of the things you guys should consider that this is a 3v3 YCS, which means that you can take a little bit more of a deck building risk. They also had 2 buys, which means like they're able to build their deck a little bit more for top cut, in the sense that, like, even if they lose the roll and they don't have as much non-engine to go second, it's they can still lose that game and have it be mitigated by their teammates winning. But I would say that, like, one of the biggest developments I see is that the pure Riser deck is now main decking 3 crossout and 3 talents, which historically we've seen, like, just maybe 3 talents or 3 crossout, but not really both, I would say, in the same deck list, and a lot less hand traps. Like, this is only like, what, 12 hand traps? So yeah, so that's pretty interesting. The other thing that I noticed in their list that I thought was kind of cool was, like, the Big Jaws and the Drake Shark engine. 7 Tachyon can put back the Drake Shark even if you do draw it, so it's never too bad. And then, of course, that gives you a free Bahamut into Toad, which is something that the OCG doesn't have access to, obviously, because I believe Toad is banned there. But, of course, since we have the luxury of having Bahamut, then why not play? It's a free Omni Negate and it's free follow-up. Funny enough, I was taking a look at what they were, like, the list they were playing. They also played, like, what do you call it? This package here and Ragna Zero, which I thought was kind of cool because Ragna Zero is also a card that you can just naturally make going second to give you, like, a draw, because the attack changes from your opponent's dual drive. So Ragnar Zero basically is like a pop as well going second, so I thought it was kind of neat. But yeah, other than that, I think this is pretty cookie cutter, but this kind of like might be the new, this is gonna be like, I feel like the new trend going forward. Like, a lot of people will probably start playing this type of list, which is kind of scary because, like, that means that if the dice roll becomes a lot more impactful, because essentially if you lose the dice roll to a deck, like a version of this deck, and you're playing hand traps, and they got 3 cross out Callby and talents, it's gonna be pretty annoying to win, or like your chances of winning going second with hand traps is dramatically decreased, just because of these type of cards, which I'm hoping for a ban list that can kind of answer these type of cards. Like, I think cross out needs to be limited at some point. It's just too oppressive, and same thing along with, like, talents. I think these cards are just, like, way too broken, but that's like a whole nother conversation for another time. And I also think that, like, Bahamut probably will get hit as a result, because it's like really strong in Mermails, and it's also like really strong now with the new 7 Tachyon that's finally out. And then their side is pretty much like a way to search Lancia with Ragna Affinity. And of course they have like all the chummies. I'm curious why they didn't play Furos, but they played Paralia and Meows, which is interesting. And then of course, yeah, you have like Slayer and Inscription. But yeah, I do think that like going forward, people might switch to a breaker approach to kind of like mitigate the impact of Talent and Crossout, because you know these cards are definitely like really oppressive. And then I believe Jesse just played something kind of similar. He just plays like Crossout in Ryziel Fiendsmith, and then he also played 3 talents. So yeah, definitely just like a very strong go first approach to the game, which I think is, I mean, it's like it make, like I said, it just makes the impact of the dice roll even more felt, I guess, when you lose the dice roll. Because before you could lose the dice roll, you have 18 hand traps. It's a little bit more doable, but 18 hand traps versus these like 7 go first cards is kind of nasty. They basically all had the same kind of side deck pattern, I guess, like Inscription and Slayer, and then they played the Charmies, and then they played Lancia. I saw Dom's team didn't play Furos, which is interesting. Yeah, not sure why they didn't. And then they had, of course, this is like the other team, Princess Target. They also played Ryzo. I mean, Ryzo at this event, guys, had 32 players, right? Obviously, because it's 3-3 YCS, that means top 16 means that there's 48 players in total. But 32 out of 48 players is a lot. If I'm doing quick math, that should be 66% of Ryziel in top 16, which is crazy. 66%, you know, top cut percentage breakdown is a lot. We have like 6 Maliss, 4 Blue Eyes, 4 Mermails, and then 1 Voiceless, 1 Bystial. Fiendsmith, I'm assuming. Yeah, one of the voiceless voice is, I mean, you could consider it, I guess, Ryziel, because I guess there's like a small Ryziel package. I didn't actually watch the deck profile, but I did see it pop up, but I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. But maybe we'll take a look at the Voices deck profile to see. I saw some Totally post a Voices deck profile like the week before the YCS that I thought was kind of nice. But maybe we could take another look at this again. I'm trying to see if there's anything other. I saw there was a couple of Malice Fiendsmith players topping. I think I saw Daniel Munoz. I think he's from New York City, so I think that's insane. Shout out to New York, of course. And then I think I saw, yeah, Michael Joseph Gold. He also taught with Malice Fiendsmith, which I think is a really cool deck. Yeah, we saw also, I believe, Kamal almost back-to-back 3v3 YCS champion. I believe they went first or second in Swiss, and yeah, Kamal almost had a chance to back-to-back there, which was obviously crazy. So there's a lot of storylines here in YCS Vegas that I would definitely wish was recorded. You know, this is, I believe, the all-Canadian team. And then, yeah, we had Jeff Jones also just on a tear with Malice, which is insane to see, of course. I think he's 3 for 3 now with Malice, and he's just been playing like the Malice Bystial deck with just Shifter and Furos and all that good stuff. So and then of course we see some Blue Eyes topping. I don't think Vlad posted his deck list yet, but from what I was told, Vlad was like absolutely cooking it with Blue Eyes as well. So I think that's also something I was interested to see. One of the biggest developments I saw in the Blue Eyes deck was they started playing Fallen of Albaz to summon off of Erratic Seals, so that they can basically kind of like do a puppet lock. Because if you make Erratic Seals and you get nibbed, you can summon Fallen of Albaz, use the Albaz in your opponent's nib root to make Albion, the branded dragon. Then you go effective Albion, the branded dragon, to summon Sanctifier, because you have a light spellcaster in the form of Sage or Maiden. That makes Sanctifier, and then you can use Sanctifier to summon back the spirit with Eyes of Blue to your opponent's side of the field, and then you basically lock your opponent out so that they can't special anything except dragon monsters. Yeah, so this was like a nice little like puppet lock tack that they were playing in the Blue Eyes deck. This deck was 45 cards, it seems like. It's a lot of cards. And only 2 wishes. But yeah, this was definitely, yeah, this was one of the techs I saw. I knew about this tech. And they decided Lubellion, I'm assuming for the Maliss matchup. Because if they have Radic Seals, one of the Maliss monsters, then they can summon Albaz, and Albaz can tag out. Albaz can use like one of the dark monsters to make Lubellion. Then Lubellion can summon into Mirror Jade, which I thought is kind of cool. Yeah, that's actually pretty neat. I think they should have probably mained it, because yeah, I don't know why they didn't main this. I guess there's not a lot of space, but they could have used it to also summon Blue Eyes, because you can go Lubellion, because this can discard a card and summon a Fusion level 8 or lower, so you can actually summon Tyrant Dragon off of Lubellion as well, which I thought was kind of cool. And in the mirror, you can use Fallen of Albaz in the mirror to summon Tyrant Dragon, which I thought was also kind of hilarious. But yeah, so pretty cool developments here from a Blue Eyes perspective. Yeah, shouts to Ezekiel or Zeke. Yeah, he was actually cooking it. I think he's from the Florida. The Florida duels are absolutely cooking it, because I think Josh Pavarnik, who's usually a hedge judge for, if you guys been to a lot of premier events, you guys would know who Josh is, but he head judges a lot of events, so you know, I have the pleasure of knowing him as a result. And yeah, he also had, I think he also head judge Worlds, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, he was absolutely cooking it as well with this board breaker approach to the Ryzeal deck, which I thought was kind of nice. Like, you basically just play a lot of board breakers. You don't play into your opponent's talents. The only thing you have is Ash Blossom. And yeah. Yeah, so this was kind of, I thought this was also interesting. I think this is why they did really well, by the way. Because basically, like, a lot of people were main decking triple talents and stuff, but they didn't really play into the talents. So, like, they made the impact of talents a lot, like, not as felt. Because the only thing they could get talents on is literally Ash Blossom. But I suspect they probably didn't even use Ash Blossom if they had board breakers going second. They just, like, held the Ash in their hand. So, yeah. It's a pretty cool development here. For this YCS, I played Maliss Fiendsmith. I played it at YCS El Salvador as well, and I really liked it. And I thought it would be a good pick to play again, just because the Fiendsmith cards like carry you in a lot of matchups. And I thought that the Fiendsmith cards are, I think, the best cards in the game at the moment. I think they're better than Ryzeal. I think they're better than Maliss. And so I decided to play the Fiendsmith cards. Like, I knew that whatever deck I played, I wanted to have Fiendsmith cards in them, because you beat a lot of, like, noobs with Fiendsmith. Like, it's very hard to lose against people that are quote-unquote worse than you when you have Fiendsmith cards in your deck, because the Fiendsmith cards promote, like, a grind game that allows you, that you can, like, naturally kind of, like, win. Just as long as you, like, play all your cards right and you trade really well. So, as a result, I thought Fiendsmith cards were just broken. So, I then decided, okay, well, if Fiendsmith cards are really good, what engine do I play them with? I then decided to add Maliss cards to the mix. I thought they were better than Ryzeal cards because they complement, like, the Maliss cards really well. So, like, if you think about, like, how Fiendsmith works with Ryzeal, is that the Fiendsmith cards in Ryzeal basically mainly only works if you open Ice. And then if Ice gets stopped, you basically can't access your Fiendsmith cards anymore unless you hard draw Fiendsmith engine. But the thing with Maliss cards is that the Maliss restriction just says that you can't. And then, so, like, because, yeah, you know, the Ryzeal restriction is that you're locked into 4s if you summon from hand. So if you stop Ice, then you basically can't access your Fiendsmith engine anymore. But the thing with the Maliss cards is that the lock for the Maliss engine is that you can't access anything besides links, right? But the Fiendsmith cards are really nice because if you use them just as free bodies, then you don't really care about not being able to fusion summon into Desiree. You're just using Fiendsmith cards to generate 2 monsters. And monsters and bodies are really important in the Maliss deck. So they kind of complement each other really well. And the beautiful part is that, like, a lot of people are forced to side Lancia in against you because they saw Maliss cards. But the thing is, you play just as many Maliss cards as much as Fiendsmith cards. So every time we got Lancia, it just made your opponent sided, not necessarily incorrectly, but it's very hard for them to side deck against you because they're like, damn, I gotta put in Lancias, but then they gotta put in this card. So when people were doing their side deck patterns and people are prepping to beat, like, you know, they gotta prep to beat Ryzeal, they gotta prep to beat Maliss, no one really had Maliss Fiendsmith on their radar to kind of quote unquote build a side deck game plan for. So a lot of people were scrambling and to side the right cards in, because they're like, they just haven't seen like this deck really that played, I guess. So and yeah, and so that's why I thought it was like really good. And you still had a lot of like non-engine, even though you played the engines together. It was just more about getting the ratios down. So that was like probably the hardest part about the deck, but I thought it was really good. I mean, I think 2 people did really well with it at this YCS, and yeah. So yeah, I teamed up with Sam and Syriax, if you guys didn't know. Awesome people. Obviously, I teamed up with Sam before for previous YCSs. You know, we got second at YCS Vegas last year together, so we have really good team chemistry. And then Syriax, he's a little bit newer to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, but I think this tournament kind of lit a fire for him to pursue competitive Yu-Gi-Oh a little bit further. And I think that's like really awesome, because when I started playing about 5 years ago, when I started playing for the first time, I played a 3v3 YCS with Sam and Triv, and after getting 17th at YCS Vegas in 2020, I kind of like got inspired to keep grinding and like, you know, keep going, and then maybe like and kind of take the game a little bit more seriously. And yeah, I think it's kind of cool, because it's kind of like the same thing right now for Syriac, so I thought that was kind of sick. Yeah, didn't team up with Triff because we made this team when Triff wasn't even playing Yu-Gi-Oh at the time. He kind of took a hiatus and a break, so we made this team before Triff actually started playing again, actually. So that's that, yeah. So now I guess I'm gonna go over my deck a little bit. Basically, the deck just plays a bunch of bomb cards. If you guys saw the deck profile already, you guys would see that it's pretty small. It's like I played all the best Maliss cards, and then I play like, you know, the best engine in the game, and these two engines works really well together, in my opinion. At YCS El Salvador, while people started with 2-round buys, we had reverse buys. We literally started with a match 1 loss, and then we went undefeated after to make top cut, while other people started with like literally 2-round buys. We started with a -1 buy, aka a match loss, and top the tournament and top the YCS. So I think that and Steven, Sam, and I all played the same deck, and that's why I think the deck is really good. Like the fact that we're able to top after starting X1, and we were on the bubble the entire YCS since round 2, and we still went undefeated after the fact. Hopefully shows like how good this deck is, in my opinion. But yeah, I figured I'd show you guys like some combos on the deck. On this deck, if you guys are interested in more combos or more lines, you can check out the spreadsheet on the Metafy. But I want to show you guys some cool plays that I basically kind of like found out as I learned how to play this deck on a deeper level. And yeah, so let's say you open Underground plus Engraver or Underground plus Track. Either or works. Doesn't necessarily have to be Engraver. So yeah, so we can kind of show that. So let's say you open like these two. I just show Track because it's slightly worse, I guess. But yeah, so obviously let's say you start with Underground. Post side is really cool, because if you start Underground game 2 and game 3 and they Lancia you, you can then use Fiendsmith Tracked and get access to your Maliss engine. I mean your Fiendsmith engine, and because you bait them to Lancia you, your Fiendsmith engine cannot get Bystialed, because Lancia makes it so yourself cannot get banished. So it actually works out really well. But let's say you banish Dormouse here, and then you summon Dormouse back off the Underground, and you use the effect. If your opponent stops your Dormouse, which they have to because this card is a bomb card, if this card basically resolves, your opponent loses. So they need to stop this. So let's just say like the Dormouse gets stopped, or else it just wouldn't be fair. And then this is what is a little bit cooler. In the Bystial Maliss version, if you get stopped on mouse after starting Field Spell, it's a little bit harder to extend. While if you have Fiendsmith cards, it's way easier. And you can do some really neat lines. So you go Fiendsmith Tracked, you get access to Lure, you dump it, and you bring it back. You link this into Requiem, and then you're gonna use Requiem effect to then summon Lacrima. We're gonna use Lacrima's effect to send a Fiendsmith card to the graveyard. We're gonna dump the Engraver. We're then gonna use the Engraver to shuffle back the Lurry to summon Engraver back. We can then use all 3 of these to make White Binder. So we can summon White Binder here. We can use White Binder's effect. We're gonna set, and we're actually gonna set MTP and then use MTP's effect to banish the white binder, to add a copy of the white rabbit to your hand, and then trigger white binder to bring yourself back, and then draw a card, right? So let's say you draw like an Ash Blossom. Then on the summon of white binder that came back, you're going to use white binder effect to banish your own MTP so that you can put it back in the deck off of Cryptor later. Then you can commit your normal summon to the white binder because you haven't normal yet, and then use white rabbit, and then use it to set GBC. Then use these two to get access to Lizardos. You can Lizard banish the white rabbit, then bring it back, and then use these two to make Red Ransom, and then use Red Ransom's effect to add a copy of the field spell to your hand. From here, you can then activate the effect of GBC to banish the Red Ransom, to bring back the white rabbit, and then Red Ransom triggers to bring yourself back, and then banish the Chessy Cat from your deck. So let me get that, and then Chessy can summon itself back, and then you can use Chessy's effect to banish this and draw two more cards. So now you basically draw 3. And then here you have like a couple of different like options in terms of like lines you want to do. I usually go for link this off into a decoder, then turn all 3 of these off into Cryptor, then bring back the link decoder when you summon the Cryptor, then use Cryptor plus link decoder to make SP, targeting the Cryptor, and then use Cryptor to summon itself back. So this is like pretty much your end board. SP Cryptor with Lacrima in graveyard, and then you drew 3 cards after getting stopped. But the thing is, in these 3 draws, you could have also drawn a Bystial, and then that would also obviously make your board better. If you draw Lubellion, that makes your board better. So either you draw a bunch of hand traps to make the board stronger, or you draw like for example Lubellion or any of the other Bystials, or even Regain to get more draws and then access more of your engine. But I would say this is like usually like this is pretty good to win, and this is usually like the board that I go for. So you basically get a draw 3, you get SP follow up, you get Cryptor banish, so you get 2 banishes, right? Which is basically what the regular end board ends on anyways. So you still have access to 2 banish, and then you have Lacrima to summon itself back, sending the trap Paradise to pop to send a card, and then you put all 3 of your Malice links in rotation, which means at any point you know, you get access to the field spell, or you get access to basically any Bystial. You basically can then use the Bystial and binder, and then get access and recharge your entire Malice loop. That's why like the Malice cards are like some of the best grind game engines out there. And yeah, that's just like an example of like what you would do if you open like field spell and then gets stopped. Yeah, I think I saw Steven cut the Cryptor, but that's why I didn't really want to cut it because of this line. I think it's like really good. And then the other option that I thought was also really nice is if you open for example Dormouse plus like Lubellion. Obviously Lubellion is like super broken, but yeah, you open like Dormouse plus Lubellion, there's also like a really crazy combo. But yeah, basically there's a bunch of like multiple card combos that are like just insanely crazy. But like if you open like Mouse plus Lubellion, for example, you can go like Mouse, banish Rabbit effects at GWC, use these 2, go into Lizard banishing the Mouse, then bring back Mouse back, then link these off into Ransom. You can use the Ransom to then get access to your field spell, and then here you want to activate Lubellion, and this is how you like play around Nib without needing Caesar or anything like that. You can use Lubellion to get access to Magnamut. You're going to use their Magnamut to banish the Dormouse from the graveyard, and then use Magnamut's effect. You're then going to tribute over your Magnamut for Lubellion, and then here they basically have to nib you. If they don't nib you, then you put up Regain, and then you can never get nibbed. Because if you do get nib, you trigger Regain, bring back Mag, they make IP. So they pretty much have to like nib you here, and that's pretty much your nib check. If they don't, no problem. You trigger this, and you put up Regain, and now it's like really hard for your opponent to like interact with you, or like because you have Regain up. which recycles all your resources and gives you like a bunch of follow-up. This card is basically just insane because it also lets you resolve mag more than once, so it's like super broken. But then now you turn these two into SP, and then you're gonna SP your own red ransom, and then trigger ransom to summon itself back, banishing Chessie. Chessie's then gonna bring itself back, and then you're gonna clear Chessie to banish the underground to draw 2 more cards. So now we're gonna draw 2 cards here. So I'm just gonna put 2 Ash Blossoms to represent that, and then you're gonna use these to make Binder. And we're actually going to use Binder's effect on summon to target the Chessie and the SP to banish themselves. We only play 1 Chessie, so when we want to put in banish to recycle it, then we're going to trigger the regain to put back the SP back into our extra deck. So draw another card. So now you have drawn 3. At this point, I don't really care about Nib because, and depending if you draw Fiendsmith or something, you can like, it changes your combo completely. But at this point, I don't really care about Nib because Mag is going to get a Bystial to my hand at end phase, so I can loop these. And then I also drawn 3 cards already. So I'm actually going to flip the GBC on the white binder here. And then summon back the white rabbit. Get back 1200. Then trigger binder to bring itself back. And then draw another card. And then here I'm going to use the white binder to set back the GBC. Like I said, if they nib me, I end on IP. And I have a Bystial in my hand to soul charge back the binder. So it doesn't matter if I get nibbed before on this spot right here. So even if I don't get GBC back, I don't really care, like I said. Because I have mag resolving, and if they nib me, I bring back the mag IP. So hopefully that makes sense. But you're gonna then white binder set this back, and then what you're gonna do is we're actually gonna make Moon. So we're gonna take these 2, turn to Moon. Moon's gonna turn to Requiem. We're gonna use Requiem here to summon Lacrima, and then here we're gonna summon the Lacrima. Lacrima's a good effect, gonna dump the Engraver. But this combo pretty much already drew us 4 cards, so we're already in like a crazy winning game state, in my opinion. But yeah, now you get to this point, and I usually use Engraver here to shuffle back the Moon. So yep, shuffle back the Moon, summons itself, then turn these 2 into a Bow. Then you can use a Bow Q's effect to discard a card, summon back, let's say like Mag, then use these 2 to make IP Masquerena. So your board is 3 fresh draws. At end phase, you get a Bystial to your hand. You have GWC, and then you have a Bow Q coming back. You put SP back in your extra deck so you can actually make it again because you regain back the SP. So IP can go into SP or can go into Cryptor. You have Lacrima summon itself back to send the Paradise, and yeah, this is like, I mean, you just went plus infinity pretty much. So yeah, nobody can basically beat this field, and that's basically what the combo I was going for most of the time. So the board is like basically an FTK. So I thought this deck kind of felt like Mermails, but it was a little bit better going second in my opinion. And yeah, and you can beat a lot of people with just like the grind game of Fiendsmith. So even if they crack your board, like it's hard to beat the follow-up from this. Yeah. But yeah, you basically like yeah, this is a 2-card combo, and yeah, you basically get 4 cards. Yeah, I don't play 3-tracked right now. I want to play 3-tracked. I think I probably will add it in now going forward. Trackage is really good. If you, like I said, if you don't have to like kind of like make Moon, and you can just hard draw your Maliss engine, it's just so much. I mean, hard draw your Fiendsmith engine is just so much better, because if you hard draw Fiendsmith, you beat Nib like super hard. So it's just like really good. Yeah, but yeah, against all the Charmies, you make the half board of like IP, or you just make Cryptor, kind of like before. I also played Droll, so I drolled myself quite a lot too. Yeah. But yeah, I think this deck was pretty good. But yeah, I just showed you guys those 2 combos that I thought were kind of nice. If you guys want to see more of that, like I said, definitely go check out the sheet. Nesh and I put a lot of time into the sheet and learning this deck and how to play this deck proper. For those of you who are interested in playing Maliss a little bit differently than everyone else at the moment. Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. But yeah, the deck was overall was really good. I really like this deck. Yeah, but if you guys haven't watched the deck profile already, yeah, this was what I played for the side. Yeah, basically just a bunch of like floodgate hand traps, pretty much. And I think my main deck is on my channel, so you guys can go check it out. The sheet is on !Metafy if you guys are interested. Have all the information there. But yeah, this deck is sick. I really like this deck. Like I said, and you play so many different engines, so it's kind of fun because you can basically play your, like, every game is a little bit different. You know, you don't always draw Maliss, you don't always draw Fiendsmith, you don't always draw like the Bystial part of your engine. So, you know, you kind of like have to play with what you draw and then use it to your advantage, and then but the whole point about the deck is that you basically try to force your opponent to play a grind game with you, and then you basically outgrind them, right? So yeah, so I think that's pretty much what the deck is. Yeah, I like the deck a lot though. So there's that. One of the things that I also wanted to do was, we had talked a little bit about you know, how one of the biggest trends in the metagame is that a lot of people are playing triple crossout, triple talents. I think one of the ways we can mitigate the impact of those type of cards in people's decks, if that is like the new trend, right? Because you always have to think about being one step ahead of everyone else to have a competitive advantage at these YCSs and these tournaments, right? So when you look at YCSs and the results, it's, you don't want to think about, you don't want to be like, okay, let me just copy what people did at the last event, because then you're just like kind of like, you're always going to be a little bit behind, in my opinion. So for instance, so I guess to put in the context of like post YCS Vegas, right, like YCS Houston, it's like, okay, if everyone's doing this, then the next logical step would be to play maybe board breakers, for instance, right? Because you know, like we'll take like one of the guys played Despia. You know, he basically played a bunch of breakers and he saw success at this UK Open. Well, why? Well, because this guy, he just couldn't get talented. Like, he couldn't get cross, like none of these cards are getting cross-outed, right? His opponents had dead cross-outs, dead talents, and he just had like a bunch of very powerful board breakers that just destroyed his opponent, basically. So I think like the only card that could get really cross out is like maybe talents, but everything else just kind of resolved. Like, so yeah, so you start just seeing some people who are a little bit ahead. They're already like thinking about that. You know, some people are playing all these going first cards, and these are some like the ways that they kind of like adapted, right? Which I think is kind of neat. So like I saw this deck. There's I saw this Pearly deck too. Basically a board breaker approach, right? Dark Ruler, Foolish Bureau Goods. So I thought this was kind of neat, right? You like, because a lot of people are playing these rogue decks, and if you're playing a rogue deck, then obviously your deck has to be a little bit better, or like a little, like, it has to need some sort of edge in order to compete in the Ryzel Maliss meta, right? So you see like the trends of like the decks that are doing well right now are decks that are playing board breakers, which is what we're seeing. Some of them are still on hand traps. Like this guy played Bystial Maliss with hand traps. But look at this deck. He basically played like the floodgate hand trap. So like they almost aren't you almost like see Furos and Joel as like board breakers rather than hand traps, because these cards limit your opponent's board to the point where like it's almost as if you just dark ruler your opponent, to be honest. Like there's almost like no diff. And yeah, so I mean, of course, like one of the biggest issue is like, if people are playing board breakers, then one of the biggest risks of taking a board breaker approach to like tournaments is what? You get destroyed and smoked by FTK decks. So like Mermails or like, you know, Memento, these type of like decks that like if they go first, you're in a very bad spot if you don't have any sort of hand traps to stop them. So yeah, see, like they got talents in the main, got call by. Yeah, look, even like I said, even this Unchained deck, see, bunch of breakers. So this kind of like makes me definitely want to try breakers a little bit more, because normally like people stray away from them, but I think, you know, if I think about like okay, well, you know, my team didn't top YCS Vegas. Okay, I want to do better. I need, you know, this is kind of like some early thoughts, I guess, on how I approach like the meta and like post event results. And actually, it's funny because I kind of did something similar. So at YCS Vegas, I played a deck. This is what I played for YCS Vegas. And I can show you guys. So at YCS Vegas, I played this deck. I played Maliss Fiendsmith again, but I played 3 Fua and 3 Droll. Because, and then I played 3 Ash Blossoms, and then of course the Bystials as my only hand traps. But it was a little bit different because the Droll and the Fua, like I was talking about, they're kind of like basically used to make your opponent's board as weak as possible. Because if your opponent full combos you, the issue with Droll and Furos is that, if your opponent full combos you, the issue is that like you can't really break their full board with just Metatronus and Slayer, or Talons. Like it's just not good. It's just too hard. So you need to make their board weak enough and not let them get enough advantage, so that your breakers could actually do something. So that's kind of like what the Droll and the Furos were there for. Ash was kind of like a board breaker because going second, you can stop their MTP. You can stop their Fiendsmith in Paradise. And then of course going first, you have the utility of like being able to Ash a Furos, right? Or like Ashing an Arla or like a Pirellia. So going forward, I probably wouldn't play this card again, but I think the idea made sense. And then I had 2 talents to kind of help the deck go first and second a little bit. So yeah, so basically by playing both Droll and Furos, obviously there's some small conflictions there, but I mainly always Fua in draw phase to see if it resolved or not. And if it didn't, then I would just draw them right after. So I think it was fine. And then you had let me see. And then then my side deck was just like basically Thrust, which basically accesses as both Slayer. Thrust was really good because going second, you can access either Fiendsmith Engine or Maliss Engine. So it was both, because Thrust can get tracked or Thrust can get Terraforming / Stark. But it also had the utility of being able to get Duster to clear back row, or utility for breakers in the forms of Talents or Slayer. So it was really good. Probably should have played 3 Thrusts going forward, but the idea was there. And then I also played 2 Pirellia, 2 Chaos Ender, but I think Chaos Ender kind of underperformed. I probably should have played Meows, because Meows and Pirellia were just way better into Talents. But I thought Chaos Ender was a better card into Maliss in my opinion, but it's a lot worse than the Talents and Thrust. So I probably should have played Meows instead. And then Meows also substituted as like a non-engine for other matchups because it was a little bit more generic. And then going first, I had the 2 Thrusts, the Barrier, the Sanctum, the Strikes. Yeah, overall I really like the list. I did brick like twice though, so I went like, I did brick like twice. So I probably should have played 41 cards and not played the Ash Blossom. And then other than that, I think it was good. Yeah, I still played the same ratio that I played at El Salvador. I just swapped the non-engine around. Yeah, so the 2 matches I bricked, I basically just insta-lost. So yeah, I think I should just have played less cards so that I could have just be able to play more. And so definitely probably cut 3 Ash and probably add in 3rd track is what I would do differently going forward and play 42 cards. Yeah, and then probably find a way to fit 3rd Thrust in. Maybe it's take out the 2 Strikes, but in a 3v3, one of the logic flows I had was that if I win game 1, I want to like basically win the match for the team. So I played a little bit more like I sided a little bit more aggressively to kind of made it so that I win going first game 3 a little bit more consistently. So I added in the Strikes for that reason. But going back on it, I probably shouldn't have played these 2 Strikes. I probably should have played a 3rd Thrust. And then the other Solemn should have been like maybe a Storm, or like something else basically. But and then yeah, the 2 Prelia, two Meows would have been fine. Maybe could have been third Meows over like the second strike, I think. But yeah, this deck was really good. Like I said, like we played at El Salvador and we literally started with a round 1 loss and then 1 out to still make it. And yeah, Vegas we lost on literally last round. We lost the roll to Mermail. Sam broke a full Mermail board. And then our and then Cyrax, our third, just lost in time. And I think with more time, I think the game probably would have been a lot closer. But yeah, it's just time, and yeah, he's just not as comfortable. Like, he's not as used to competitive setting because it's his first YCS. So obviously time is gonna be a big factor because you know you might take more time if than someone who had more experience playing in an actual YCS and stuff. So yeah, but overall I think we did pretty well. So pretty close. I mean, I think the team we lost to actually ended up topping, which meant that if we beat them we probably would have topped, which meant like damn, that was actually a really good run. So yeah, I was happy overall with how the team performed. So that's like the quick dirty rundown. No, Sam and I were on Maliss Fiendsmith. We usually play the same deck because, you know, since I'm middle seat and it just makes more sense. And then yeah, usually I like playing the same decks as my teammates so that I can like kind of coach them. And then, but I think Maliss is like it's a very hard deck to give like someone who's like newer to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh to play. So we had Dion played Blue Eyes instead because I think logically it just made more sense. Because it's a little bit easier to play, a little bit low to the floor. But yeah. Yeah, Joey, thanks for the prime. But yeah. Yeah, Post Alliance Insight, I haven't really thought about what I wanted to do, but obviously I think Maliss can get a lot stronger Post Alliance Insight, so I'm probably gonna be playing a lot of Maliss. Actually, I'm actually really excited for that. But right now we have YCS Houston coming up, which I'll probably attend, and that's still gonna be the current format. So haven't really thought about Post Alliance Insight, what will happen. But yeah. But I think right now I'm gonna be trying a bunch of different decks. I have a lot of decks on my radar that I wanted to test. So like Odeon, I want to try Memento. I want to try Branded again. Yeah, I think those are like some of the decks that I'm thinking about trying a little bit more of, just because I think these decks have are pretty cool, and might have a lot of potential. So yeah, there's also White Forest Azamina, which is also pretty interesting. We actually played a team at YCS Vegas. We played a team that had White Forest Azamina and I believe Memento, and I played the Memento player and Sam played against the White Forest player, and the game was really close, to be honest, like really close. We only won, we barely won actually. But yeah, one Rabbit, one Chessie, because they're like the worst names to open. I think TB11 sucks, because like White Rabbit setting TB11, although it is a 1-card combo, it's like you have to play 2 more White Rabbits for like a brick in your deck. I don't really, you'll see the lines I do. I mean, I showed you guys 2 of the example lines already. We don't really need you don't really need TB11. Triff and I and Sam and I, we all played the exact same deck at YCS El Salvador, but for YCS Vegas, I think Triff played a different list, which is what he posted, I think. Yeah. This is what I played for Vegas. What I posted was what I topped YCS El Salvador with. Yeah. So just showing you guys the 2 different versions. Yeah. Yeah, Joel is just slow Rizio, but I actually go first, and I use Joel to actually Joel myself a lot. So, like, what's really cool is that, like, when they Joel you, right, they usually draw you on like Lurry Summon. And then when they draw you on Lurry Summon, you would go something like, okay, sure, activate Lubellion, get Mag, right? And then you can go like make Requiem. You know, they draw one, then you just go, okay, draw, chain draw. And then you can go Requiem, summon Lacrima, dump, you can dump, what do you call it? The dump Engraver. And then you can use Magnum with effects, banish your own Larry, summon it back, tribute for the, tribute for Lubellion, and Lubellion put a regain, and you play around Nib. Furos, no. If I get Furos, I can use Droll going first to Droll myself. So it was like dual purpose. It was like Droll was a go first card, as well as a go second card as well, because it made their board weak. And then going first, I used Droll to Droll myself. But Droll also, Droll going first also is like a Thunder Dragon Colossus for your opponent, which is like really hard to crack your board. Like if you make a half board and your opponent's under Droll, it's like really hard for them to beat you in the grind game. 3 White Rabbit is not really needed in this version of the deck. In Pier, you don't have enough engine cards, so you probably need to play it. But I think White Rabbit sucks in the Fiendsmith version of the deck. So yeah. Didn't you find that you were playing Bystial Fiendsmith pretty often? Yeah, Jesse. So the beautiful part about this deck is if you open just Fiendsmith Bystial, it's good enough to win. So that was also the part where I thought was kind of cool, where like when you open just Fiendsmith and Lubellion, or just Fiendsmith cards, it was almost always good enough to get you there. And you can actually look to like all the people that topped with Fiendsmith Maliss. Like I think Gunther went 12-0 at YCS, Birmingham, and then like I think Mario D'Amico also topped YCS Orlando with Bystial Fiendsmith. Like clearly just playing Fiendsmith cards and Bystials are good enough to get you there. So even in hands where you don't draw Maliss cards, you can still get there with just Fiendsmith. But I think I think the biggest change I would make to this list is I probably would not have played Ash Blossom, and just play the smaller deck count. But Sam was kind of like 44, fuck it, run it, and I was like, I guess. But I think I probably would not have played Ash. I think Ash is really weak for me. Utopia double stuff in Rise though isn't really needed, I think. I think you can try to like establish a grind game and probably win in those spots. But yeah, this is basically the deck I played. I liked it a lot. I think it was kind of a unique approach to what people were doing. I was really happy about like the refinement to the ratios, because a lot of people just default played triple rabbit, or they played TB11. But you can see this list: no TB11, no Dawscaper. So I think it's cool because I think it's like a nice little innovation to the Maliss deck. Don't miss Caesar at all, because basically you guys see all the lines beat Nib +1. So Caesar loses to Nib plus Imperm, because if they have Nib plus Imperm or Nib plus Veiler, they just won't Nib you. They just won't like. They just will hold their Nib Veiler. But if you don't make Caesar and you play properly and you play normally, you beat Nib plus Veiler, and Nib plus Imperm, which I thought was like way better. The only time I really wanted Caesar is against like Mermails, I think. That was the only time I wish I had like Caesar in my extra deck, when I went first into Caesar. But other than that, I never needed Caesar ever. Yeah. I think the extra deck is pretty solved, I would say. Yeah, but the funny part about this too is that like game 1 I beat, so like even at YCS El Salvador, and this happened at Vegas too, I beat a lot of my opponents with just Fiendsmith. I literally beat my opponent with just Fiendsmith to the point where like in game 2 and game 3 they didn't side Lancey against me, and then I would normal summon a Dormouse and they're like, bro, what are you playing? And then I'm just like, yeah, I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh. So I thought that was hilarious, because like it happened actually like more often than I could count, where game 1 I literally like beat my opponent with just Fiendsmith, and then I didn't see a single Maliss card. And then like game 2 I like broke my opponent's board and then just had like a Dormouse, and that was kind of insane. Did you guys qualify? No, we didn't top for we didn't top Vegas, but we did top El Salvador this year. Yeah. But overall, it's pretty good. Pretty good. I think yeah, I think I would probably, like I said, I already told you what changes I would make to play it again. But now, yeah, that's pretty much that. So that's my kind of overall thoughts on the deck. But you guys can get that along. You'll see in the sheet, like, we never make Caesar beat all the, we beat all the thing. We beat all the nibs. Yeah, you just don't really need it. Should be okay. How are you converting Engraver into a detonator out? Yeah, so basically, yeah, we just made SP, and then we would use SP to target the XYZ in their graveyard so they can't trigger Eclipse to bring it back. So Engraver was also a good detonator out. If you fool with them or droll them, they end on just detonator, and so you can use Libellion to get Jewess Worm, summon Jewess Tributed for Libellion, and then send the detonator as well. Usually when you droll them, they don't miss, they like don't really have, yeah. But we also play like 6 detonator outs, like hard outs, like 3 Metatronus and 3 Slayer on top of that. So I thought it was pretty good. I actually never, yeah, I think the main thing I lost to was just breaking. And also losing to, I also lost a roll to Mermail, which was not great. Yeah, Sam went like X1. He only lost once actually during the entire tournament, which was actually kind of nasty. Should have rolled better. Jesse, what great advice. I need to roll like you, no cap. But yeah. I think I'm actually, yeah, the only thing I would change is like change the combos to make them illegal. Oh shoot. One every dash roll day 2, Jesse. That's just that's what happens when you have 3 cross out 3 talents in your main deck. with the power of the belt, you know what I'm saying? Nah, Dion, like I said, he's still newer to the competitive scene, but I think it lit a fire in him to play a little bit more competitively. Like, I believe he's even trying to go to Houston now. He wasn't originally planning on doing it, but now he's like, bro, like, this kind of lit a fire in me. He's like, I hate losing. And I'm like, yeah, like, I get emo after every loss, and if you don't get emo after losing, then you just don't care enough. That's just the truth. Yeah, Jesse. Yeah, I think he's literally like fired up. He's like, bro, losing sucks. And I'm like, dude, that's it, bro. Like, if you feel like shit after losing, and you want to keep playing, then that's how you know you're on the way to greatness. Is what I would say. So, I thought that was sick. But you need to get emo, but also be able to recover. Yeah, exactly. It's how you recover. If you keep, like, you know, being like sad and shit, like, yeah, it's kind of ass. But if you take that energy and then put it into like doing better at the next event, then that's the goo.